Greetings. Once again, we are back. I would like actually to inform you that we are in the concluding parts of our topic that we are looking at the research report and how to handle the research process. So, according to our outline that we had in the very first video, there are about 10 topics we are going to cover, 10 subtopics. So we are handling the last ones, that is exception of those ones that came in along the way that I discovered that we shall also need to look at them. So we shall also look at them, but according to our outline, these are the very last. We are in the concluding parts. Yeah, so I'm telling you such that you don't feel like everything is becoming too big. You don't need to fear. Yeah, you just need to follow up, and actually I'm sure by now you're better. You're better when it comes to handling the research process. Yeah, so in this video we are going to look at report presentation, because as we are starting research report was part of our main subtopic, together with handling the research process. So when we come to report presentation, then it means we are in the final stages when it comes to research report writing. So in this video, it is what we are going to look at, report representation, and in addition to this, we shall look at the format of a research report, and that will and that is what we shall have to cover. So we're going to start right away. So when it comes to report representation, like you're representing your report on paper, you will want to present your report in a simple and concise style that is easy to read and navigate. Readers want to be able to look through a report and get the information they need as quickly as possible, so that way the report has a greater impact on the reader. So there are simple formatting styles that can be used throughout your report that will make it easy to read and look organized and presentable. For example, you can consider the formatting style, like it is best to use just one font in your report, and an easy to read font such as Arial or Time New Romans is best for reports. So use those official fonts or fonts used for official documents. And then when it comes to section headings, maybe you can choose to use a different font from the main text if you prefer. That is, if you want to be versatile in your design, or if like something like that, you can choose to use a different font for the heading sections. And then lists. So when we finish with the fonts, then when it comes to lists, it is good to use lists whenever appropriate to break information into easy to understand points. So lists can either be numbered or bulleted. Like for example, if you have a section whereby you can use a list, it is better to use a list, because that way it makes the information easy to understand, and the formatting is like nice. Because if you imagine looking at content, a written piece of content whereby someone lists something without, like, he mentions things without listing them, he puts them in a paragraph format. So someone who has listed is better than that person. So something like that. And when it comes to headings and subsections, as another point, here we are looking at 3 points. We've looked at the font, and we've looked at lists, and now we are looking at headings and sections and subsections. So you can use headings and subheadings throughout your report to identify the various topics and break the text into manageable chunks. So these will help keep the report organized and can be listed in the table of contents so they can be quickly found. So what is implied here is that it is proper to use headings and subheadings as you're writing a report. Like normal as reports are written, it is normal reports have headings, so you should make use of those headings to make your report organized and easy to read through. Because normally it is very easy when something has headings. You imagine you're reading a full paper of content when someone was supposed to use headings but never used them, so the whole thing seems boring. something like that. So now when it comes the fourth thing we're going to look at is the writing style. So the report writing style. So what you should know that you should there are a number of writing styles you can consider. But some of the things you should know is that you should keep it simple. Number one thing, keep it simple. Don't try to impress, rather try to communicate. Keep sentences short and to the point. Do not go into a lot of details unless it is needed, and make sure every word needs to be there, that it contributes to the purpose of the report. Simply meaning that use words that are required. Don't like let you only put what is supposed to be there. And then the other thing, use active voice. Like active voices make the writing move smoothly and easily. It also uses fewer words than the passive voice and gives impact to the writing by emphasizing the person or things responsible for an action. For example, someone may say, bad customer service decreases repeat business. And then so this is more concise and direct than repeated business is decreased by bad customer service. So something like that. You should try to use an active voice. And then you should mind your grammar. So you should read the report aloud and have someone proofread it for you if possible. So remember that the computer cannot catch all the mistakes, especially with words like red, like color red, and read, the past tense of read, or there, meaning place, and there, which is possessive. So sometimes the computer may not be in position to identify such mistakes. So you may even want to await a day after you write it to come back and look at it with fresh eyes, such that you can spot all mistakes. So that is all about how you can present your report in terms of formatting, listings, and so on and so forth. Now we are going now to look at the format of a research report. So in order to help you follow through what I'm going to say, I'm going to take you through precisely what we are going to look at. Because we're going to look at the format of a research report, which contains some sections, which if I talk about them without having shown you actually what I'm going to talk about, you may be confused a little bit. So I'm going to show you a small short video of what I'm going to look at, and then I shall look at it. So this is the short video that is intended to take you through how these sections are arranged and how I intend to look at them. So there is a preliminary section which contains the title, acknowledgement, table of contents, list of tables, list of figures, abstract. So the title page, we are going to look at that. Acknowledgements, then table of contents. So table of contents just lists what your report contains. Then list of tables, you list. So this list of tables just enlists or includes any tables that you have in your document. You list them in this under that section. And then list of figures. Figures are like when you're reading books, you see there are figures, like those representations, like maybe graphs, what they are called figures. So such, if you have any, you include them under this subsection. And then the abstract. So when it comes to the main body, that's why I have the introduction. So under the introduction, we have these subsections: statement of the problem, significance of the problems, purpose, statement of the hypothesis, assumption, limitations, definition of terms, ethical considerations, budget. If you're writing a research proposal, that's where the budget and proposed timeline apply only. They don't apply in the report. So this is just to help you that when I'm presenting, then I talk about the introduction and I go to the subsections, you're not confused, hoping that I've gone to another section, I'm still under the introduction section, but you're looking at the different subsections within it. So that is it. Then review of related literature, it is another section. Design of the study. So under design of the study, have subsection like description of research design and procedures used, sources of data, sampling procedures, methods and instruments for data gathering, statistical treatment. Then after that, then we go to the analysis of data. So this contains with text, tables and figures. So you tell us how you analyze your data, including those as we are going to look at it. Then the fifth subsection, that is the summary and conclusion. So the summary and conclusion section includes the following subsections: A, restatement of the problem, description of procedures, major findings, and then the conclusion, and then recommendations for further investigations. Those are the subsections in that section as we're going to look at them. Then the other subsection is the reference section. That is the sixth section, which is the reference section. So that section contains the endnotes, the bibliography or literature cited, and then the appendix. So that is it. Those are the things we're going to look at in this study. Thank you. Hope now you're going to have a smoother follow through as I discuss. So that short video was to show the sections we are going to look at and what is included in those sections. So now I'm sure when I talk about the introduction, you know what is included in the introduction. So as I'm going to be talking about the subsections of some parts of the introduction, you won't get lost. So now let's proceed. So first of all, as you're writing your report, it should have a title. So the title should be specific. It should tell what, when, where, among others. So in one main title and a subtitle, give a clear idea of what the paper investigated. Like normally, yeah, that is, your report should have a title, and your title should include subtitle and give a clear idea of what your paper has investigated. Then the acknowledgement. So you should include so these are the different sections. So an acknowledgement is a section. So this section you may include it if there's special help that you received from individuals or groups. So you acknowledge. So that's what the acknowledgement section is for. Then the second section, the second section is the abstract. So this section just summarizes the report, including the hypotheses, procedures, and major findings. So that is what the abstract section contains. Now, maybe just to tell you in advance, I would like you, in order for you to be in position to understand this very well, you will need to get a sample report. Let's say if you've not written a research report before, it is better you go on Google, download a PDF of a sample report, such that after watching this video, or as you watch this video, you go and then compare it with that sample report, so that you see in the introduction section, how did this person state their problem statement, how did they write the significance of the problem, how did they state, like things like that. You see how these people wrote their sections in those parts we are going to look at. So it will help you get a clear idea of the whole thing, such that by the end of this whole study, you are just good to write a research report. So that was just to get you to the same point with me. So then the third section is the introduction. Having finished the title, acknowledgement, and abstract, then you come to the introduction. So this section may be combined in short reports. Sections may be combined in short reports. If your report is a short, you may combine some sections. But anyway, let's look at what is contained in the introduction section. So the introduction section contains a statement of the problem, or the problem statement. So this is a problem statement is just a general introduction to the topic. Like I told you, before you start making your research, you have a problem you're going to research about. So that problem is, you just make it into a statement. So that is what we call a research, a problem statement. Then secondly, under the introduction section, we have the significance of the problem. Like you comment, so under this subsection, you comment on why this question merits investigation, or why you need to investigate it, which group of people are benefiting from it. You get something like that. Like you're talking about the importance of this problem you're looking at. Why would you investigate it? What benefits come from investigating it? And then one thing you need to know that this is a general format. For some reports, you may include some sections, or you may not include them, depending on your research. So it depends. So you have to be vigilant on that. Yeah. So then, after significance of the problem. So thirdly, under the introduction section, we have the purpose. So the purpose is simply states what goal is to be gained from a better understanding of this question. So that is what the purpose subsection is all about. And then the fourth subsection is the statement of the hypothesis. So the statement of the hypothesis, so this is just for this in one, when it comes to this, you tell us in one statement, not a question. You declare the question which is investigated and the expected results. So somehow this is like the synthesis statement, the statement of the hypothesis. So it is something like the synthesis statement, because the synthesis statement tells us what you're investigating and how you like the reasoning you're going to use to solve that like the reason you're going to use to support your synthesis statement, something like that. And then still the fifth subsection, no, I'm just numbering these sections according to how they are arranged, how I've arranged them, but not specifically they're supposed to fall in that order, no. So now the fifth subsection under introduction is the assumptions subsection. So under the assumptions, you explain everything that is assumed in order for the investigation to be undertaken. That is, in case you made some assumptions. So that's why I said some of these subsections you may not they are not, it's not compulsory that they'll be included in every report. So if for your research you need to make an assumptions, then you may skip this subsection. But if you made assumptions, then this is the section where you have to tell us and explain those assumptions. Then sixth is the limitations subsection. So under limitations, explain the limitations that may invalidate the study or make it less than accurate. So when you look at like I've told you, if you get a sample research report and you'll be reading, you will see you get what these subsections contain in actual sense. Because now when you look at limitations, here you write, like there are some limitations that come sometimes from the method of sampling. You may be limited and you decide to use a certain method just because of limitations. You get something like that. So that's what you should include in this section. Then the other subsection, which is the seventh, is the definition of terms. So here you have to define or clarify any terms or concepts that are used in the study in a non-traditional manner or in only one of the many interpretations. Like for example, there are terms that have more than one interpretation, but then for you used it according to a certain interpretation. So you give us that interpretation in under this subsection. And when it comes to then the other subsection is the ethical considerations. So this subsection discusses the ethical issues related to the study and explains the processes and status of the review by the institutional review board. And then so that is it about the introduction of a research report. But if you're writing a research proposal, then you can also include the budget. In your introduction, you include the budget, which outlines and discusses the budget for the study, and you also include a proposed timeline. So this just outlines the expected schedule for beginning and ending each part of the research project, and you may illustrate it with a Gantt chart. So those two are just for a research proposal. So having finished with, so that is all to do. Those are the subsections under the introduction section. So now we move on to the fourth section, which is review of related literature. So when it comes to review of related literature, here you give the reader the necessary background to understand the study by citing the investigations and findings of previous researchers, and documents the researchers' knowledge and preparation to investigate. And documents the researchers' knowledge and preparation to investigate the problem. Like for example, when it comes to literature review of related literature, this is here you just like as you're making your research, you come across books or researches by different people that have something to say about that particular topic you're looking at. So such information from other researchers or other information sources that are trusted is what you include in the literature review. You may include a number of them depending on you. So you may have, so that's what the literature review contains. Just some information about the same topic you're looking at by other researchers. That's all. Then the fifth section is the design of the study. So when it comes to the design of the study, here you just need to give the reader the information necessary to exactly replicate or repeat the study with new data, or if the same raw data were available. So the reader should be able to duplicate the results. So this is written in past tense, but without reference to or inclusion of the results determined from the analysis. So the design of the study includes subsections like description of the research design and procedures used, source of data, sampling procedures, methods and instruments of gathering data, then statistical treatment of the data. So let us look at these subsections. So when it comes to this description of the research design and procedure subsection, here you just completely explain the step-by-step of what was done during the research. So you just give us a step-by-step of your research design or what was done. And then when it comes to sources of data, you just give complete information about who, what, when, where, and how the data was collected. So here you can tell us maybe if you are collecting data from a particular organization, you tell us who was involved, like which time, like you get this anyway when you do what I've told you, because if I go into that it will make this video instead longer. But that when you follow what I've told you to get a sample report, then that will make it easier. So that is it when it comes to the source of data. Then the other one is sampling procedures. So under sampling procedures, you just need to explain how the data were limited to the amount which was gathered. So if all of the available data were not utilized, then how was a representative sample achieved? So under sampling procedures, you tell us which sampling method, how was your sampling? Because sometimes when that you may use due to limitations, you're forced to use a certain sampling method. Let's say the convenience sampling method. So you tell us things like that. And also maybe tell us which tool did you use. Okay, anyway, those ones may come under methods and instruments of data gathering. Like under this subsection of methods and instruments of data gathering, you explain the procedures for obtaining the data collected, include the forms or manner by which it was recorded. Like for example, you can tell us if you use the questionnaire, you tell us we used a questionnaire which was distributed to get something like that. So that is what you include under methods and instruments of gathering. Then there is also the subsection of statistical treatment. So under statistical treatment, if you maybe did a study and you had some data that you analyze, that you treated statistically, then you tell us. So here you explain the complete mathematical procedures used in analyzing the data and determining the significance of the results. Like for example, if you did a study and then you had to use percentages, so here you can tell us that we used percentages whereby we got the number of responses on a particular question out of the number of people who answered that particular question. So that's how you can describe the statistical treatment of your data. Then the sixth subsection is the analysis of the data. So here you just describe the patterns observed in the data. Use tables and figures to help clarify the material when possible. So under analysis of data, you just tell us how you analyze the data, like the procedures, the patterns, all the steps that you use to analyze the data. And so like you lead us through how you dealt with your analysis process. And then the other section is the summary and conclusion section. So this section condenses the previous sections, succinctly presents the results concerning the hypothesis, and suggests what else can be done. So when it comes to this section, we have subsections like restatement of the problem, description of the procedure, major findings, conclusion, then recommendations. So when it comes to restatement of the problem, here this is just a short reiteration of the problem. You just restate the problem statement, and then you go on to describe the procedures. So under the description of the procedures subsection, so here you just give us a brief reiteration of the important elements of the design of the study, because when it comes to conclusion, you're just trying to summarize how actually the results you got solved your research problem. And then having done with that, the description of the procedures, briefly giving us a reiteration, then you come to the major findings subsection. Under this section, you just give us the final results from the analysis, and then the hypothesis is like the final results from the analysis are presented, the hypothesis is stated, and the decision about the rejection or the failure to reject the hypothesis is given. And like for example, like I told you, make sure you get a sample of a report, of a research report. It will be of a very big importance to help you understand this what we are looking at, because it will act like an illustration. I can't add it to this video because it will make it very long. So then the other section is the recommendation for further investigation. So from the knowledge and experience gained in undertaking this particular study, how might the study have been improved, or what other possible hypotheses might be investigated? Like I told you, in the recommendation sections, having finished like under this subsection, conclusion and summary, we make recommendations, like as we are doing your research, depending on your limitations or depending on the things that you didn't cover, you recommend, because from this section it is like you're communicating with other researchers out there that they may take on that course, such that you get more solutions to the problem, something like that. So you must recommend further investigation areas that your study has not handled. So then we have the end notes. So end notes are just like footnotes, but for them they are located at the back rather than the bottom of each page. So these would include all of the references for all works cited, in the review of related literature. So the endnotes may include the references for the works you've used or you've cited in the review of related literature. Remember, related literature, I told you, get information from different researchers and authors that that is related to your topic, and then you put it there. So the citation of that information is put in the endnotes. So or any other sections of the report, as well as the references for quotations, either direct or indirect, taken from other sources, or any footnote comments that might have been included. So these are listed in numerical order as presented in text, as you presented them in your report. And then there is a bibliography or literature cited. So bibliography, these are just bibliographic references for each of the works cited in the endnotes. Like I told you, when you're making your research, you should cite sources. So having cited your information, at the end you give us the bibliography, which represents the references that you've used actually in your work. Then we have the appendix section. So the appendix section contains any data, any tables, figures, forms, or other materials that are not totally central to the analysis, but that need to be included, are placed in the appendix, or they are contained in the appendix. So something like that. So sometimes when you make a reference to the sample report, like I've told you, you will notice that it is in the appendix that some people include. If someone used the questionnaire as their data collection method or instrument, they will include a copy of that questionnaire in the appendix. So that's what the appendix contains. So that's all about the format of a research report. Hope you've got everything clearly, and please make sure that you get that sample report I've told you, and you use it as you go through this video. It will be very helpful, because I couldn't I can't include everything in this video as illustrated in those researches, because it can make it very long and complicated maybe. So thank you for watching it. If it has been helpful, you can like and subscribe to support our channel. Thank you. Stay tuned. More is still coming. Be blessed.